This guy brought a weapon into the library.
Hey, can you help Ray push this along?
Yeah, well,
No, there was
Roger probably give it to him on purpose.
so this.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Reed.
Aye.
Wessels.
Aye.
Need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Bear, second by Coulter to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have a change order number 1 for the aviation project consultant T Hanger Construction, liquor license application for JBL Developments doing business as Smokin' Oak Wood Fire Pizza and Tap Room.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Patke,
Second.
second by Holtmeyer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Citizens' comments?
Would anyone in the audience like to come up to the mic? Go ahead, Dr. Bauer.
Good evening, John Bauer. I'm president of East Central College and a resident of Washington. And we want to take just a few minutes tonight to present to you information about the issue that we have on the April ballot. And thank you, appreciate it. With me tonight is Joel Depker. He's our Vice President of External Relations. We've been meeting with clubs, organizations, public boards throughout the district, really since, well, a little bit in December, and then more frequently in January and February, and continuing all the way till March.
Was the arrow not working?
No, you can, if you just want to advance it, we can do it that way.
Of course. I got a frozen computer screen.
Oh, okay.
Apologies.
Well, while he's doing that, Proposition ECC is the name of the title, and I'll be going into a little more detail in a moment, but it's a levy transfer. We have bonds that are going to be retired here in a couple of years. Those were bonds that we used to fund construction of our health science building, and so we're asking voters to transfer that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information really about ECC's impact in the community. I've got some data for our enrollment from the Washington area, talk primarily about the tax levy transfer, and then a bit at the end about our building project in Rolla. We're talking about that because those are on parallel tracks, and we're wanting to make clear to everybody that the tax levy transfer is independent of the Rolla project and doesn't fund it. They just happen to be occurring at the same time. You want me to try here? You just want to advance? So this is our community impact. We've taken a look here. What you see is our total enrollment, and then you see the share from both Washington and Borgia. So when we look at our enrollment for summer and then into fall, 2,834 students at East Central, and you can see a large number of those come from the Washington area. 389 from the Washington School District, 228 from Borgia, and combined nearly a quarter of our enrollment comes from Washington and Borgia. A good number of those are dual enrolled or dual credit students, 149 enrolled from Washington, 159 at St. Francis Borgia, and that should say WHS graduates and beyond. But that includes our Early College Academy. Those are students from Washington, as well as 5 other school districts who are full-time on our campus. They're juniors and seniors in high school, and they're earning credit from us on our campus. They're in classes with the rest of our students, and they'll graduate the same year they graduate from high school. Actually, they'll graduate from East Central a couple weeks before they graduate high school, so they'll have the kind of unique situation of being a college graduate before they're a high school graduate. The A+ scholarship program, this is where students who meet the requirements of A+ while they're in high school have their tuition and general fees paid by the A+ program, a state program. 96 A+ scholarship students from Washington. You can see the total amount there, $350,000 is the value of that scholarship, and then 28 from Borgia. It's been relatively recent, the last few years, when parochial schools were added to the A+ program. So it's very important for us and our enrollment. That's a really big footprint at East Central when we look at the students who are coming from Washington and the Washington area. Next slide. We also have a big impact. I know this group knows. We presented to 353 a couple of weeks ago. We'll be presenting to WCIC. We work very closely with area employers when it comes to workforce development. Used to be community colleges, back when we were called junior colleges, really had one mission. It was the first 2 years for a student who's transferring to a bachelor's degree. And then we just defined the comprehensive community college as the transfer option, but also the workforce option, nursing, and other programs that are degree programs that put you in the workforce. Now there's really 3 dimensions, and this is the third. This is non-credit training that we do. We work with area employers. You see the Washington area companies there. We help them secure funding for this as well. These may be employees who are already at these companies. It may be new employees coming on board, or it could be a mix of things. But this is the list of employers that we've worked with just within the last year or so. So we know we have a big impact on all 3 of those fronts, providing that transfer opportunity, putting our graduates into the workforce at places like Mercy, or the list that you see here with our non-credit work. Next slide. So as I mentioned, Proposition ECC is on the ballot April 2nd. This is a tax levy transfer. There's no increase in the overall rate, and the funds for this would be used really to do a number of things. We have aging facilities. We want to make some improvements on our campus, address safety and security, enhance what we're doing there, and just keep up with our increased operating costs and make sure that we're competitive when it comes to salaries so we can both hire and retain qualified faculty and staff. Next slide. Our debt service right now, you see on the left, is composed of 2 parts. Fairly typical for a public entity. Most of our levy, just under 35 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, is for the operating fund. Those are just our general operating expenses. And then we have nearly 10 cents, 9.9 cents, that is allocated for debt service. We don't come on the ballot very often, to be honest with you. The last time we went to voters was in 2006, almost 20 years ago. That was Proposition RN, and voters agreed to fund a bond issue to build our health science building, and that's where our RN program is located. Our EMT paramedic program, I remember very well, as a matter of fact, just as we were getting ready to construct that building and voters had given us approval, Washington Area Ambulance District was able to donate to us an ambulance that was going out of service. That's still very much part of our curriculum for the EMT paramedic program. So voters approved that levy in 2006, and naturally, those bonds, the longest of those maturities, 20 years, and that's why we're here. 2026, those bonds would go away. We're asking voters to allow us to take that debt service levy and just roll it all into operations. So the overall rate will stay the same, but those funds would be then used entirely for operations. So no increase in the overall levy.
John, can I ask you real quick? When you do, if this happens, there will no longer be any debt service?
That's correct. Yeah, those bonds would be retired, and we will not have any general obligation bonds. You'll see in a moment, though, we are going to address some deferred maintenance. So what we will do is use certificates of participation instead of general obligation bonds and fund those out of the operating fund. So we are going to do some facility improvements, and we'll issue COPs probably in the range of $5 million, but we'll fund that out of operations. They won't be GO bonds. We do realize that if nothing happens to that levy, the bonds would go away, that portion of the levy would go away, and so residents who own property in the district would see a savings if the transfer doesn't happen and the bonds are retired. But we thought it was important to be very transparent about that and also quantify what that means. So for every $100,000 of market value on your home, you see the calculation. I know you know it very well because it's an important part of the city's budget. Assess that at 19% of fair market value. On that, for every $100,000 of market value, East Central receives about $85, $66 for operations, and just under $19 for debt service. So that's the savings that someone would receive if we don't do this transfer and the bonds go away. $19 for every $100,000 of market value. So it's something, but it's not a savings of thousands of dollars or even hundreds of dollars over the course of a year. Next slide. So those bonds would be retired in 2026. That's the building that we constructed with the Prop RN bonds in 2006. And the debt service levy retires at that building. We opened in 2009. It still functions tremendously for us, and we've had countless number of students. Chances are, if you go to your doctor or healthcare provider right now and a nurse takes care of you, that nurse probably took classes and clinicals in that building. So we think we've done a good job by the district and taxpayers when they approved this in 2006. Next slide. Since that time, not only have we trained nurses in that building and EMT paramedics, but a lot has happened at the college since 2006. As I said, we're not on the ballot that often, and I thought it was important to quantify, so what's happened since last time we were going to voters and asking for approval of an issue. We've had almost 38,000 students enrolled since that time. Over 9,000 certificates and degrees have been awarded, and you can kind of see the breakdown there. Most of those are the Associate of Arts degree. That's the transfer degree. Almost 4,000 Associate of Arts degrees awarded since the last time we were on the ballot. And then the Associate of Applied Science, that would be the programs that put you right into the workforce. And then you see the breakdown from there. The certificates can either be 1 or 2 year certificates. Those are in our career and technical programs. And basically, those are the programs if a student wants the training in a particular field, but not necessarily the general education courses, he or she will pursue a certificate of either 1 or 2 years. And you can see almost 1,800 there. You see some of our students, including, I mentioned the Early Carly Academy. It was nearly that. Early College Academy, Carly Hamlin is lower right, graduated from Washington High School last year. She was in our Early College Academy, and not only was she very active on campus, she was an honor student. She was president of Phi Theta Kappa as an Early College Academy student. That's our honors organization, the international organization for honor students, and that's Carly graduating a couple weeks before she graduated from Washington High School. Next slide. And if we roll it all the way back to 1969, over 90,000 students have been enrolled at the college, over 20,000 certificates and degrees. We want to point this out because there are only 12 community colleges around Missouri, and the leaders in this area, and a lot of that leadership was focused in Washington, had the foresight in the 1960s to create a community college, and we've reaped the benefits of that ever since. This is just one way to measure that. But since the district was created in 1968 and we started offering classes the next year in 1969, over 92,000 students enrolled. I'd venture to say you wouldn't find anybody in the county and in Washington who hasn't benefited one way or another, either have been directly enrolled at East Central, somebody in their family has, or their employer has benefited. We've touched really lives across the district and throughout Washington. We do have some challenges. I mentioned the debt that we would look at incurring with certificates of participation. As we look at our aging buildings, and the oldest of those opened in 1972, the most recent opened in 2009, those buildings just require upkeep and maintenance, of course. We have HVAC systems that need to be replaced. Our parking lots and roads need attention. Roofs, these are kind of routine items. We keep up the best we can from year to year. But those costs really get to be very expensive, and it's hard to keep up with all of the maintenance that we have on campus. So that's where our deferred maintenance stands right now, about $5 million. We would do some capital improvements as well. At every point in the college's history, going back to when we were founded, and then every few years thereafter, we always needed a new building. That was just the natural growth of the campus, and in fact, the original campus was envisioned in 4 core phases, and then we've added on since then. We're in a unique position now, and most colleges are really, in that we don't need at the main campus additional square footage. We probably have the square footage that we need. we need to make the best use of the square footage we have. So in some cases, we're going to renovate existing spaces. So we'll create a space for the Early College Academy students. They're in class with our students, but they need to have a place on campus that they can call their own, meet with other early college students, and have a place where they can work and study. Sometimes they just need a break from the routine. They can certainly use our library and learning center, but I think it'd be good to have dedicated space for them to make that program really successful. We'll do other renovations. We need a STEM lab, especially for our pre-engineering students. We need better space for the veterans on campus, and so we'll improve our Veterans Lounge and other improvements like that. But instead of a new building, we're looking at the core campus that you see there and making the best use of every square foot that we have. Rising cost of operations is something I know you know about, whether it's utilities, insurance, payroll. The local tax revenue, state aid is just not kept up with those rising costs. We've balanced our budgets. It's a struggle, but we do that every year, of course. But we also want to make sure that what we're offering to students is of the highest quality. And if you think of our funding, sometimes you'll hear the phrase a three-legged stool. There are three main sources of revenue that we have. We have state aid, of course, our local tax base, and then tuition. And we can't directly affect state aid. We certainly advocate for higher education funding and specifically for community colleges and have had some success there. Our local tax base is stable, but that's why we're on the ballot with this opportunity. So the only lever we've really been able to pull is to raise tuition. And students have a fair share of our revenue. In fact, they're the leading source of revenue for us. About 39% of the general revenue coming into the college comes from students in the form of tuition and fees. So we're looking for an opportunity with the tax levy transfer to provide a vehicle where we don't have to only look at a tuition increase to keep up with those rising costs. And then finally, just being competitive and keeping quality faculty and staff. Hiring faculty into the programs, it's very much a challenge. I'll just use nursing as one example. The nurses who graduate from our program, because nurses are in such high demand now, will go to work and make more money than the faculty teaching in that program. That's hard to sustain, hiring and keeping quality faculty in our program. So we want to make sure we remain competitive. We're going to stay within the resources we have, but I want to make sure our students are able to learn from the very best that they can, whether they're coming from career, business and industry, or they're coming in a more traditional transfer program. We want those students to have the low class sizes, but highly qualified and experienced faculty and staff. I think that's what we owe them. Next slide. So if this is approved, it would generate eventually an additional $2.2 million annually. To put that into some context, that's about a 10% increase in our general revenue. This money would stay within the taxing district. The map you see there in red shows our taxing district, which is most of Franklin County, and gets into parts of 5 other counties. We're a combination of school districts, so it's the Washington School District, Union, St. Clair, Sullivan, New Haven, Bourbon, and then R2, Spring Bluff, Strange Japan, and Londale K8 districts. That's our taxing district. We do serve a larger area beyond that where there is no community college. That's the area that you see in blue, including Rolla. Because they're not paying local taxes, students in those areas pay a much higher rate of tuition, a tuition rate that's about 50% higher than our in-district rate of tuition. So the funds from the tax levy transfer would stay within the district. They'd be used on the main campus. They would not be going outside of the taxing district. We'll do the capital improvements that I mentioned. You see those examples there. We'll be able to be competitive with rising costs, keep up with rising costs. The safety and security is something that is top of mind for us. We use Union Police right now. We have officers on our campus when the college is opened day and night. We have done some things with our perimeter doors to improve the safety there, but we're different than a school. We don't lock down at 8 in the morning and unlock at 3 or 4. Our students are coming and going all the time. So we want to continue to improve perimeter locks where we can, improve lighting, cameras, and also replace that equipment as it becomes obsolete. We want the safest environment for students that we can. And you can see there that we want to be able to limit increases in student tuition and fees. Students will still pay. We still will have tuition increases, but we won't see those sharp increases that we sometimes have to have in years past. Right now, when you look at all 12 community colleges, our tuition and fees, it will fluctuate a little bit, but we're generally in the top third among the 12 community colleges. Not at the very top, but we're also not at the bottom, and students are paying a rate that is on par with the other community colleges in the state. As we approached this with the Board of Trustees, they wanted to check the pulse of the community. So the board appointed a citizens committee that was representative throughout our taxing district. You can see the individuals who were involved. We met with them. We can go ahead and go on to the next slide. We met with them over the course of the summer. And we opened the books. They looked at our finances. They looked at our deferred maintenance. They looked at the structure of our existing debt. Really everything that they wanted to see, we made sure we provided to them. And then they made a recommendation to the Board of Trustees in October. And that recommendation was that the board put this issue on the ballot and seek the tax levy transfer in April. I concurred with that. I made my formal recommendation to the board the following month, and then in December, the board placed this issue on the ballot again for April 2nd. Next slide. This is the ballot language, and this is one reason why we're making as many presentations as possible. We've worked with our bond counsel to make sure that the language certainly complies with state law, and there are some elements there that are required on any kind of a tax issue. But it's also not the simplest thing to read, and we don't want someone to have to be dependent strictly on the ballot language when they go into the ballot booth. We want them to know about this issue ahead of time, and so that's why we do meetings like this, and there will be communication going to voters in the district over the next several weeks. But the ballot language really lays it out. We're asking voters to increase the operating levy and then offset that with a decrease in the debt service levy. So the bottom line result is no increase in our total property tax levy, which is 44.72 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. This is exactly what voters will see when they go to the polls. In the meantime, by way of an update, we're just continuing to meet our mission. We prepare students for transfer. We prepare them to go into the workplace. As soon as they leave East Central, you can see some of the other programs that we offer that are intended for direct entry into the workforce. We work with students who do not have a high school diploma and give them a path to the high school equivalency. I mentioned Early College Academy. That's an area of growth. We have 6 schools now, and there are other high schools who are interested, and the students, quite frankly, do very, very well. They're a qualified pool. I mean, if they're coming to us, they're already good students. The school district knows that and makes that recommendation. But still, you're talking about juniors and seniors in high school who are taking college-level courses, and they do exceedingly well. We're really proud of that program. We're also proud of the Summer Learning Academy. This is an option that we have with sponsorship from area employers, both in Union and in Rolla, for students in the K-12 districts to spend some time on the campus with us over the course of the summer. They get a taste. You can see the welding example there. They get a taste of some of the programs that we have. It's important for students of that age to know what it's like to be on a college campus. We know students won't decide in 7th or 8th grade where they're going to go to college. They may not even know by 12th grade exactly where they're going to go. But at the same time, we know that there are students in 7th or 8th grade who are deciding if they're going to college or not. We talk about students who drop out of college in 8th grade. They've made their mind up then that college is something different than what they want to do, and that's not for them. The more we can have students, young students on our campus, and they know what it's like to be on a college campus, I think the better it becomes down the road when they start thinking about what's life look like after high school. That's why we do the Summer Learning Academy. And then finally, I do want to talk about the Rolla Building Project because these are on parallel tracks. They're happening at the same time, but they're independent of each other. We serve that area that was in blue on the map before. We lease 2 spaces in Rolla right now. It's outside of our taxing district, so that higher rate of tuition applies. And that's really been the conundrum. We can't fund a building there because it's out of district, and yet we know our students need to be in a better facility and need to be under one roof so they're not bouncing back and forth. And as we've seen enrollment grow, that has really become pronounced. We were able to secure $13 million in state funds and then an additional $3 million in an earmark with the help of Senator Blunt. So we have funds in place to acquire a site and construct a facility. It will continue to be funded with out-of-district tuition and fees there. We'll back up once.
All right.
That's all right. There we go. We have looked at sites. We've really narrowed that down now to 2 or 3 sites, and I anticipate that we'll have a site selected this year. We'll be in the design phase, and we want to open that building in 2027. But it was important as we talked to the Citizens Committee, and we know it's important in each of the communities that we emphasize that Prop ECC is one thing, this Rolla building project is totally separate. So same time, but they're independent of the other, and the tax levy would not support, is not used for construction of that facility. So it's a big development for the college. I think down the road it's very possible that Rolla and surrounding areas may elect to vote themselves into the taxing district. There's a mechanism to do that. It's very similar to an annexation. In fact, we call it an annexation, but it's a little different than city annexations, but they could vote to join the district, bring on the tax levy, and then be even more intimately involved with the college as far as the governance and more abilities to fund the campus. But that's down the road. We have funds to do this building, and I'm looking forward to getting this off the ground and getting it opened in 2027. So that Prop ECC, as I close, needs a simple majority. It's on the ballot April 2nd, and if we get 50% plus 1 vote, then that transfer would be approved, and then we would start to structure the certificates of participation and the other things that we would do with those operating funds. And just reiterating, no increase in the overall levy. You've heard that once or twice, or maybe about 10 times so far tonight, but we want to make sure it's clear. So that's what's happening at your community college. I'm happy to answer questions about the proposition or really anything the college is doing. We're proud of the work. This is my 12th year as president, going on 29 years at East Central College. When you looked at those enrollment numbers and those enrollment numbers from Washington, that includes 5 under my roof. I've attended classes at East Central. My wife has. My 2 sons graduated from East Central and transferred, and my daughter's a freshman. So we are all in when it comes to community colleges and when it comes to the well-being of Washington. And so it's more than just professional. It's certainly that, but it's personal as well. Mayor, I'm open for questions if there are any.
Fellas? John, I just would like to say that you make our community better. East Central has since day one. You and I are both very involved in education, and we know that when young families choose to move to a community, education is one of the first things they look at. We are blessed in this community, gang, with an excellent public school system, an excellent parochial school system, and then parents who look further on down the line. They know that they can send their kids to East Central to get a great education as a follow-on to college or as a career right away. And that's a huge, huge plus for our community. I hope everybody realizes that.
Well, I appreciate that, Mayor. We look at this responsibility as something that we hold in trust, for the public and from the founders back in the 60s to the students who cross our door and come on campus and cross our door every day. We really take that very seriously. And I neglected to mention when we presented 353, very much appreciate their endorsement too. I think they see the role, I know they see the role that East Central plays in the economic development of the region as well. So we appreciate that very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Any other citizens' comments?
Any other folks in the audience like to comment? Thank you.
Speak up, Sharon.
Report of department heads?
Good evening, council. I wanted to come up here and kind of give you a update on our stormwater. We are going through the DNR MS4 annual report due at the end of February, and as part of that is to brief council on where we're at with stormwater. With that being said, the biggest thing is probably the 2022 audit that they did and kind of knowing where we're at in that process. So DNR said they've been working on the abatement order, and after we do our annual report, they'll review that, see where we're at, and then have a better idea, probably in March or April, on the official abatement order, which is, tells us what our violations are, what the schedule is to correct those, and then the fines associated with each of those violations. So we have that coming up here in the next couple months, probably. In the background, we've been meeting with Stormwater Committee, working on trying to update some of our stormwater codes to be in compliance with a couple things that DNR brought to our attention that we need to get brought up. So we've been meeting with Stormwater Committee. We brought those in front of Planning and Zoning Committee. So I think the bulk of them, the changes are there. DNR's kind of still going back and forth with DNR on a few small things, but they're pretty happy with the changes that we've proposed. So we'll have those to Planning and Zoning again when they're final, and then to council for approval. So.
You want to talk a little bit about the bioretention basins we discussed at the committee?
Yeah, and then with the Stormwater Committee, we've been talking about our bioretention, retrofit projects. So we have those budgeted for this year, and we're talking about doing one at Jefferson and 8th, right there off the trail, and then redoing the detention basin down there at High Street, across from Napa. So kind of changing those over, going with a bioretention in the one area, maybe an extended detention, doing different water quality components to these basins, kind of demonstrate what you can do for developers, for if we take these over from other entities, some of our existing detention basins. So that's kind of what we got in the works going for this year.
You mentioned water quality on runoff. It's not just holding water back, it's a matter of what is let out in the quality of that water.
Right. Right now, our codes address flood control. They don't address water quality, and that's what DNR wants to see, is the water quality side. So that's what we're changing.
Is that first project you were mentioning, is that the one where the two ladies came in, the one was really rough on us and the other one?
Yeah.
That was the audit back in there.
She left an impression on you, some of you, I know that.
Has that been 2 years ago already?
That's been probably 2
I'd
years.
say that's been a while.
22, yep.
A little less.
So we're getting
You were
back
here?
around.
Are
to
you,
that.
Okay.
Yes, they've kind of been working in the background on what this is going to be. They gave us kind of a year to, I don't know, make some improvements and start working towards things, but now they're going to have
Well, I
the
know
official.
the one lady was very encouraging, that there was definitely some things we could, the other one, like I said, she was a little scary. But the one,
Good
she was
cop.
very encouraging.
Okay.
That we could take care of what we needed to.
Yeah. They've been good to work with so far, in my experience, so.
I think they're really, I think updating the codes is a big thing.
Yeah, that is one of their main focuses on the codes, and that's the first piece of it. Get it in the code, and then basically enforce that code. And then
Correct.
I mean, that's a bulk of it, so. Kind of where we're at with stormwater.
And all developers know all this code's coming and so on and so forth?
I mean,
Our biggest ones have been involved.
think some
Yeah,
have
I
been
mean,
informed, not
for example,
all.
one of them's on our stormwater committee.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, he's well aware of it. I mean, he's had questions along the way. And the other one, I would say, he's also,
I mean, I think they
he's aware of
know,
it because
yeah.
of the St. Louis area and what he's had to do in some of those areas as well, too.
And we'll still have 2 public hearings, one at P and Z and one here at council, where we can get comments back as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Ordinances and resolutions, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract with Hanson's Tree Service and Environmental Resources for mulch grinding services.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Holtmeyer.
Good evening, council. I brought this up at the last workshop when this is the final contract for grinding up our mulch down at our recycle center. Hanson's was the low bidder. This is the second year in a row we've worked with them. They're a good company, got along really good with their operators, and it worked really smooth. So, you recall we did a price increase back in July, and for the last 6 months, we've earned about $20,000 from our contractors. So by the end of the year, we're looking at maybe about a little over $40,000 cost on that, so compensate for some of this cost.
How much is, do you think, Tony, that we'll have to spend this year for mulching? I mean, an estimate about?
Altogether?
Yeah.
Well, we'll take the 35,000 here, and we put $3,000, we rent an excavator, and not including my man hours and my own equipment, that's about it. So we're getting around a $40,000 area.
So last year, I had some people talking about how rough the mulch was. I guess a lot of times we double mulch or double ground it or something like that.
No, we do a 3-inch grinding screen.
Okay, always, years past?
That's our contract. Now, I will tell you, last year, they started out and they had the wrong screens
Okay,
for about 2 hours. And was like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. And they said, wait, we got the wrong screens. So we switched them out and moved on from there.
okay.
Yep. I think if you get into, when you get into double mulching it, you're doubling your price.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
That was the problem. But yeah, that makes sense.
I hope people realize it, that's a great service we offer.
Oh, yeah.
That, to have that available for people to come out and get,
Yeah, and we give the mulch away.
yes.
But I believe if we tried to sell it, we probably would end up with more than what we know what to do with. Yeah, so.
Other questions or comments, guys? Go ahead.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract with Hanson's Tree Service and Environmental Resources for mulch grinding services. Coulter?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Reed?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
By your vote, ordinance 7A passes. B, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement with Lamke Trenching and Excavating, Inc. for the 2024 Staringer Avenue Shared Use Path Extension Project.
Heidrich.
Introduced by Hydrich.
All right, so this is the project. A majority of it is off Staringer Avenue, continuing our shared use path. So thank you, Sal, for pulling that up. So you can see where it ends. That's Staringer Avenue over by the old South Point Elementary School, across from old Highway 100. So currently the trail ends right there when you get to the road. But obviously that road, now that doesn't go through to the school, doesn't really serve a purpose. So we are extending the trail out to 5th Street, right there. So that's a bulk of that project. And then this also includes concrete work for the old sand plant parking lot project, which is down on the riverfront, the other end,
The other end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
over by
Yeah.
the park.
You don't want to go that far.
But it's gonna be for islands in the middle, so that the thought is if we have that parking lot open all the time, people want to be doing donuts and stuff. So that kind of breaks up the parking lot. We're also gonna in the future have spots for lighting and stuff down there in the islands. So that's where the concrete work for that project is in here, so that we had just an asphalt project in the parking lot bids that came in last Friday, and we'll have that to you next council meeting. So.
Well, I'm sufficiently confused.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
So I'm trying to figure it out. Help me understand.
Yeah.
We got an engineering estimate of 63,000. We got 50,000 in the budget. We say we can do it for 58
So we had,
and then we're going to take 17 from something else. I'm trying to add all this together.
The seven,
Go ahead.
yeah.
so we had 50,000 in the budget for just the trail portion. 17,000 of that is gonna be for the concrete islands on the riverfront parking lot project, and that was budgeted as part of the parking lot project that's coming out of the capital improvement
So
sales
this
tax.
58, the 5870, we're taking 17 of that 58 and putting it down on the riverfront.
Yes, exactly. We pulled out the concrete from the parking lot project so that we'd get more just straight asphalt bidders, which we did. We got 11.
You got 11 bidders that he
bidders
had
for that asphalt.
So we're well under budget for
Yes.
For the
So
asphalt.
what we're going to do here.
And well under budget for this as well. So both these projects came in under budget, yes.
Other questions, comments?
No, yeah, it was kind of confusing.
But it was advantageous to do the concrete work in one bid, obviously, rather than bid them out separately.
Yes.
Okay. I kind of had the same question as Councilman Bear. I didn't put the numbers together, but now you're telling me that that's going for the curbs on the parking lot, and that was part of the capital improvement sales tax, so thank
I
you.
was trying to pay the 8,000 overage with the 17,000 from down there and saying, okay, where's the other, okay, I get it.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks, Charles.
Yeah.
Have we got a design for what that parking lot with islands is gonna look like? Have we got anything?
Yeah, engineering.
Thinking out loud about on a weekend when a guy need to put a boat trailer out there, are we gonna prohibit that by putting islands out there?
No, I think that'll still be open for them as a carryover parking lot.
Yeah, it's a carryover parking lot. I can
they'll
send
be
you
able to
what
get around
that's
the
going to look
islands.
like, but I think we also looked at having bulk of just regular parking in that lot, and then maybe being able to add more boat parking or people utilizing the existing boat parking as true boat parking.
Right.
And then you not
The other part of that, those 11 bids was part of resurfacing the boat trailer lot.
Yep.
That exists today.
that'll all be redone down there.
Anything else?
I promise I'm done.
Go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement with Lamke Trenching and Excavating, Inc. for the 2024 Seringer Avenue Shared Use Path Extension Project. Coulter?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Reed?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. By your vote, 7B passes. C, please.
An ordinance extending a special use permit for RV park located at 1399 West Main Street.
1550.
I'm sorry, thank you. 1550 West Main Street in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Omar.
Introduced by Holtmeyer.
Evening. So this is just a blast from the past. This time last year, you guys approved a ordinance for special use permit for the RV park at 1550. It was 1399, but it changed 2 weeks after you approved the special use permit. They're asking for the extension because they are struggling with financing and rising costs. So they need a little bit more time.
Do you know where they stand at this point? I mean, we've seen a few trees removed and then nothing else in the last year, right?
I haven't communicated with them directly, I think through Sal.
Yeah, we had a meeting with them on, potential options and that they were, talking about extending. I think they're waiting for interest rates to come down, quite frankly, and they wished to be here tonight. Their plan was to be here tonight. They had a health issue come up today. But we couldn't extend this to the next meeting because you
It
approved
expires.
February 22nd, and so it has to be extended tonight, or they have to start over.
Did this go before P and Z?
It did.
Yes.
last
The-
year.
The extension doesn't. This isn't a hearing. They can request an extension of that special use
Without
permit.
going, it doesn't have to
Correct.
go
Yeah.
before P and Z?
It's
Correct.
just- It doesn't change the plan that they were approved, it just gives them, all special use permits have to be
Just like the homeless shelter did.
implemented within 1 year. And this gives them 12 more months to implement the development.
So we can't extend this, I mean, we have to make a decision tonight on this? Is that what you're telling me?
You either extend it, or if you deny the extension, they have to come back and start over with a brand-new application.
Well, it'd be nice to know, what they're thinking I've gotten a lot of chin boogie over the last 12 months over this deal. People talking about, they didn't know it was gonna happen, and now here we are, gonna extend it again.
Well, extend it for the first time, but yeah, I think
Well-
they're looking to wait for interest rates to come down.
But I think that, I think we ought to look at something, what their plans are again. But if you're telling me that it's do or die tonight, that's.
Well, like I said, and we didn't try to do, we tried to tell them, hey, probably be in your best bet to come to the meeting or whatever, but unfortunately, they got a health problem that they had today. So,
I think the main thing is if they came back with the same application tomorrow, would we really have a different opinion? I mean, staff's recommendation would still be approval. So do you really want to go through a second public hearing without any changes to the plan that was approved with this same council 12 months ago?
I don't think it was unanimous last time, was it?
No.
It was. I voted
Chad voted against it.
I voted against it.
Oh, yeah, Mike did.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of on the same page as Dwayne, even though I'm trying to understand what you got for the last couple months there, but I guess that's a lot of people talking to you about it. There's been very little motion on anything out there and, you know, waiting for interest rates to come down. When is that gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? It's something the town needs. I still believe it's something we need. I'm just worried that this one's never gonna get off the ground, or we're gonna not look at the next guy that wants one somewhere else. But if we say no extension, I guess they start back at square one, because we can't just table it.
Correct.
Say, let's talk to them at the next meeting.
Sal, I think we asked this question a year ago. If we do grant them a special use permit, obviously we did 12 months ago. If we extend it tonight, they still have to come back with a plat or not?
No, that has to match the plan that was submitted with their application.
But I thought there were some questions on that plan as far as the dumpster and the width of the streets and inside there. Wasn't there questions on that?
But there was conditions of approval. I mean, they had to have 20-foot streets, you know, fire lanes in there. It had to be one way. That was conditionalized, and then the site plan committee had to make sure that it met those conditions, but they did not have to come back before council.
As I recall, that was at P and Z, because I was at that P and Z meeting that they had put a
Right.
bunch of conditions there prior to it even coming to us.
That is true.
Right.
That's why I still sat on there, so.
Well, and speaking of P and Z, when I read the packet, it says it went through the planning and zoning, and I sat in for the mayor at last week's planning and zoning meeting. That didn't go through planning and zoning. My mistake,
Last
it
year.
says 2023 on the letter. So once that got there, okay, then it makes sense. But I still too have a little bit of reservation about I don't think they had a great plan a year ago, and we allowed a special use permit at that time. I can respect what Sal's saying. The same council 12 months ago was the same thing, but I think people wanted, again, to Mr. Bear's point, I liked an RV park in Washington. The idea that someone private wants to do it, great idea. Where are you at? What are you doing? Where do we stand? That kind of thing right now is what bothers me, to Mr. Reed's point. Again, I know they can't be here for health reasons, but just some direction as far as what we want to do. There's some sour grapes there as far as residential homes around it, and we passed it then. Now we're extending it, even though nothing happened in 12 months, is kind of where I stand. So to the point of same council 1 year later, why the change? For me, it's the lack of something done, because it was a sore spot 12 months ago.
Right.
So.
How many extensions could they ask for another one next year?
Yes. And one after that, and keep going. Sal, what's the property zoned?
Ag.
Just want, so if it wasn't extended and they chose for whatever reason not to do the RV park, what are some of the permitted uses, I guess?
Well, I mean, that's the only any true agricultural use where it's commercial farming. So, I mean, we don't have an animal ordinance if someone wants, some animals on their property if they're not a nuisance, but you could do true commercial farming with livestock on that piece of property.
I'm just saying there's not a lot of options probably for them to do stuff with property. Not advocating for it, I'm just letting you know so that if it doesn't get extended.
How big is the property?
Pull it up, sorry, man. I'm guessing.
And I guess while we're looking for the size of the property, I want to ask another question. If we approve the special use permit according to their plan, what if they decide because of the double cost, they do half of what they thought they were going to do? Is that acceptable without coming back to us?
That's a question for I think if it's a reduction, well.
As long as it's
a
not,
flat-
I guess if it meets, as long as the restrictions that are on the ordinance are met, I don't know that you have to get his number of lots, or number of pads.
No.
It can't
do
be any
less.
more pads.
But you can't add more.
And I guess that's kind of a redundant question that, we don't want them to be over the top. I guess if less is all right. But to my point is that we want to approve this for the RV park and where it's a go, but if costs are really the issue, are they gonna change their plan? You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're looking at here 12 months later. I guess would be a concern of mine also.
It's 6.42 acres.
Pardon me?
6.42 acres.
Almost 6.5.
You know, it's the same thing they're asking for approval of the same thing we approved a year ago.
Right.
I know they haven't done much, but they're asking the same question. Is that correct?
That's correct. If they're asking for anything more, they'd have to go through the process again.
Right.
The property sat vacant for forever. All there's really has been is just some trees taken down. I don't understand myself, I don't understand the questions of, well, something that better get done there, nothing's getting done. You know, it's basically how it was before, so besides a container on it. So what I don't understand is, and like you said, Jeff, is, well, there's people around there that didn't like it, well, there's people around the homeless shelter that didn't like it either, but, they came back and you guys as a council, I voted no, but you guys as a council said, yeah, we'll reinstate them another year. So I don't know what difference there is between that and this situation.
Well, a little bit of a difference, Mark, was the homeless shelter couldn't get going, not due to any fault of their own. Level 9 wasn't out of there in time for them to get started. These people just haven't started.
Well, we were provided, if I'm not mistaken, I think we were provided a letter there, and I think they might have even been here too. Again, we're kind of at that, it'd be nice to hear from them directly. And
Again, like
have an
Darren
idea.
said, if there's a health problem, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, are they using it as an excuse? I don't know, who knows, but I'm just saying. Maybe there was some more cost that was thrown at them that they didn't know about, who knows? I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Said rising cost was a factor. So,
And they seem new at it too. They didn't know either. They're learning as they go.
I think the electrical, the extension, there's power within the area, but the upgrade in power needed was hundreds of thousands more than I think what was anticipated. I think it was about 300,000 is what they said just for the power.
I know Darren likes this term, but a few people, I got a few calls.
Got a few calls.
Yeah, guy told me.
No,
A guy told me.
Chin boogie is better than a few calls.
Yeah, that done took over. Sal, is there any, this is something I heard, that hookup fees for water, that the city's wanting to get them for each lot instead of just one hookup for that one line?
Nope, it's one hookup for the thing, and then it's an internal lateral for it.
Okay,
We
so-
met with them to talk.
It's all
about-
theirs, yeah, after that.
Because we sat down and
Because I think there was some confusion there. That's something I heard about hookup fees. And it was a rising of that was $35,000 more because of each lot was gonna get charged.
No, but they did have, our hookup fees did increase for the size water line they needed. So there was gonna be a sizable increase just based on ordinance, but it was not for individual. And when we met with them, we said if you got the permits in before January 1, you would not be subject to that, but didn't, we never heard.
I don't know if that was based upon the first round of fees that we had discussed at Public Works that Kevin had the first time. I think that was what the concern was when we met him down there at the chamber.
Yeah, we showed them the revised.
Okay.
Mark, in regards to the homeless shelter, I'm against it too, but I think our hands are tied through litigation and a lot of other things, and the reason the vote went one way and not favorably.
That was
the other
gonna
way.
happen whether we liked it or not.
Right. I didn't vote, but anyway, in this case, I understand your point, Mark. It's the same thing. What is their cost? Again, it'd be great if they were here tonight, tell us what their story,
So
tell
let
where
me-
they stand.
I don't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry, but can we, instead of extending it for a year, can we extend it for a month? And say, come back and let us know what's going on? It's only yearly.
Yeah, 1 year.
So if we table it, it expires.
If you do not pass the ordinance, it expires, and if they wish to do an RV park, they'll have to start all over again, go to P and Z, and eventually come back to you as a council.
Yep.
If you pass it, they've got a 1-year extension to get substantially completed.
The good news is the plan, I know BFA completed their plans, so they're not going to incur additional costs for engineering, for drawing the plan for starting over. It would be the $150 application fee and public hearings again, but, because that would be one concern if you're causing a developer to redo, you know, engineering costs, but it's an application fee.
Again, I said it, I'll say it again. I want the RV park to happen. I think I just want it done right, and I think this is part of the step in the process, that's all. So the questions occur. Again, not against it, just want to know what they're doing so we can make sure we make the right decisions going forward. So I'm kind of stuck in the matter of extend or not.
Well, and I guess my point is too, you know, if they had an eyesore out there, I could see us, you know, hey, let's ixnay this so something gets moving on. I don't see an eyesore out there myself, but.
Yeah, and I don't either, but I think the fear is, will it be? If we can't get there now and it's taken so long to get there, you know, is it gonna be what is promised or not?
I think we should give them a chance. You know, another year makes a difference.
Yeah, they ran into a bigger wall than they knew
Absolutely,
about.
yeah.
They're new at it, you know, and I think they ran into a big, but if they're willing to ask for another year to do it, I think we approved the plan last year. I think we should approve it again.
Other comments? You guys need a minute to soak it in?
Do we have to vote on it again, or just give the approval?
That's.
You have to vote on it again.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah.
An ordinance extending a special use permit for RV park located at 1550 West Main Street in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Coulter?
No.
Wessels?
Aye.
Reed?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
By your vote, ordinance 7C passes. Next, Sherry.
Mayor's report?
I don't have much, guys. Just kind of a slow time of year for stuff going on.
How'd coffee go?
There were not as many people there this morning as there were the first time, but Tim Frankenberg spoke, and we all know how Tim, he likes to talk. But it was really, yes, he is. It was really good. His reflections upon leadership and how it related to the police department, and quite frankly, all of us, was really good. So that's all I have.
City Administrator's report?
Just a couple items to update you. As you all are aware, we awarded a contract for a salary study for McGrath Consulting. They started some work this last week and meeting with department heads all day on February the 12th, and then I think another half day on the 14th, and then they finished up today, for those stragglers behind. And so they'll be going, the next steps will be meeting with, or reaching out with a survey to employees, et cetera. There's some other steps along the way. We do have a committee that we put together to go ahead and take a look at it. So as soon as we get some results back from that, that's when we'll reconvene that committee and take a look at those. The other thing I want to let you know is we did go out for requests for qualifications for the Parks Master Plan that was included within the city's budget. I think Wayne reported to the Park Board the other night that we had those 8 companies submitted. We have a committee for that as well, and they are going to be reviewing those this Thursday. So, and then we did receive, we're getting a lot of bids on stuff, which is good. It gives a lot of competition, but as I just wanted to stress, as what Charles said, we received 11 bids on those 4 parking areas that we had, and that came in well below the budget number that what we anticipated, so that's the good news. You spent some of that already tonight, but that's going towards that parking lot. And I should remind everybody that that's one of the projects that was promised with the capital improvement sales tax. So those are the three items I had, that's all.
There's a little slump right now, so you're gonna be getting a lot of bids on things.
Well, it's good. It's best time to go ahead and bid things.
Wish we'd rebid that firehouse in, that thing, right? At $470 a square foot.
taxes in your neighborhood.
Well, we haven't, we haven't bid that yet. We'll wait and see yet. So,
We'll charge people to
Hold
hang
out.
beer up over there. That's what we'll do.
Council
dear.
comments?
I just want to, this week, it was a strange week for me. So I had to call Tony, I had to call Kevin, and I had to call Jim. And I just want to thank all you guys. Great answers, and I was able to give the people feedback that they needed. Thank you.
Agreed. Thanks, Kevin, for the help today, and sorry, Sarah, for dragging that out so long there for, seems like one of the first times we've had you up there, and we,
I do have a question, I guess probably for Kevin or whoever, but for the month of December, in my personal house, I used 7,228 gallons of water, and my sewer rate was $35.42. And now in the month of January, 7,444, so an increase of 220 gallons, and my sewer rate is now $65, so it went up $30. Is that what we expected, sewer rates to go up?
based upon your water usage, I would say yes.
I'm sorry?
Based upon your water usage,
That's too
or unless you had too much with the,
Water only went up.
200 gallons?
Yeah, similar
That's
water
not right.
usage.
I don't know about.
I have, to Mark Heidrich's point, I've had a lot of phone calls. I've had a lot of people telling me
Sure.
that we promised them the average customer.
$7 something.
$6.73 increase.
Right.
And now we're looking.
No. That was a article that was written by the newspaper that didn't use the correct numbers when they wrote the article. That number they used was one of our very first conversations about raising the rates. And that was the number we was gonna raise it to.
From $3 per 1,000 gallons to that number per 1,000 gallons. What you approved was $7 per 1,000 gallons.
Right.
So that number that was on the post and everything, that's not the number that was used as that's going to be the cost. The average cost was talked about was average of $14 to $18 possibly. My house went up $14.95. So it's just, that was not the number.
Okay, so you can tell me that my water bill went from $26 to $26.57.
Now,
My water went
are you
up
talking
50
water or sewer?
I'm starting with water. So water went up 57 cents in the 220 plus gallons difference. So
That's
it's 20
consumption, yeah.
Right, there you go, 57 cents. But my sewer bill went from 35.42 to 65.63. So an increase of $30. It's just shy of a 100% increase in my sewer bill.
That is off of your winter usage, not your actual usage for the month of water. So you have two different things there.
But my point is, our sewer rate increase went up 100%. Did we expect that? That's what we said to people?
When you went from $3.02 per 1,000 gallons to $7 per 1,000 gallons.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
wanna
we didn't
know-
say it was gonna be 100%, we just told them what the dollar amount was.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out the formula and how we told people. And again, I'm just,
And
Is
then
that
like I can add to yours, Jeff, this one sent me, he said he used 725 gallons less in January than he did in December, and his bill is $26 higher.
But he's talking about water and not sewer. See, there's two different calculations there. There's water consumption that we charge the water on. And then there's a base rate of winter usage that's for sewer. That does not change until after April 1st or April 30th.
That's a 5-month average.
5-month average.
5-month average, and the reason why they use those 5 months is so you don't build in irrigation and all the other water usages that you
Yes.
have in the summertime.
Is the
So-
formula on the bottom, Jeff?
Well, I'm looking at it right now. So
On the
it
bill
says,
it is, yes.
Increased sewer rate effective January 1. The base rate is $12.50.
That didn't change.
Did not change.
And the residential usage rates of $7 per 1,000 gallons based on winter sewer average.
Yes.
So if I used 7,444 gallons times $7, you're talking roughly $50, right? Or am I want to know the formula. It's the only reason I'm taking my time here. I'm sorry.
But you don't know your average, the 5
Yeah,
month
what's your average?
Is that the second number that's underneath it here?
Yes.
So 75.90. So 75.90 is your average times $7 is $53.34 plus $12.50.
What was your average usage?
$65.
So then 65 is the right number that we're talking about. So
Off of
people-
your winter usage. Now,
So that'll go down if it's not winter use.
if your winter usage goes down for the last 5 months, which we're going through right now, your sewer bill will drop by whatever that usage is, by using the same calculation. So if you use 5,000 gallons for winter usage, your bill would drop by whatever that number is from your 7,000 to your 5,000. I don't have a calculator in front of me, so I'm not gonna give you numbers.
No wonder I can't figure it out. I can't understand.
The rate per thousand is not going to drop.
The rate per thousand is not gonna drop. It's still $7 per 1,000 gallons. So you take your 1,000 gallons and that's what you're gonna have. You know, take your total amount divided by 1,000, tells you how much it is, you multiply it by $7.
But your base rate doesn't change.
Base rate is not changing. Its base rate is $12.50. We left it at $12.50. It's been $12.50 since
It's
2009.
65.63.
Right,
That's right.
right.
Because but 7,590 gallons is what your winter average apparently, according to your bill.
And I'm giving you my house, that's it, but I'm talking the average person, and I think mine is an average house in Washington. It's not, it's small home and whatever.
Well, I'm averaging mine's about 5,400 for my winter usage.
I have 2 teenagers, or sometimes that happens, but
There
regardless.
Yeah.
I guess to my point is that to the general public here, we need these funds for what we have for infrastructure. We know that. There was a need to raise. We haven't raised in a long time, and I get that. But knowing now, after the fact, 1 month in, doubling our bill was not what I had in mind.
Well, and not everybody's bills doubled.
Correct.
Yours doubled, but not everybody's did.
Yeah, mine,
I went up 9.
So,
Mine went up 11.
$6.35.
Huh?
$6.35. I don't have teenagers at home.
like I said, mine went up $14.95. I
Okay.
knew it was gonna go up.
So
So you're what I would consider an abnormal winter usage customer. Your winter usage is higher than what I would say it probably should be, because winter usage is really the consideration of you flush toilets, you take showers, you do dishes, that's it. You don't irrigate, you don't put any water out in the ground. You may wash your car once or twice a week or whatever. Most people go up to Club Car Wash. But anyway, thanks, there's a lot of water there. But anyway, so that's why they use the winter rates to try and do sewer rate charges, because then you pay that rate the rest of the year. You use as much water as you want through the summer, you pay for water, but you don't pay any extra on sewer. So I would say yours is a higher than average winter consumption. So what we're doing for those guys if you want to look at it, I will. We're looking at them, we're trying to see with our system, if we can tell that you're using more water than what you should be. Toilets are notorious for it. You won't know it's leaking, you'll use 200 gallons a day and not even know it.
Right.
Which kicks that winter usage up. So if people start looking and try to see if they've got a leak, we will try and work with them to try and work something out so they're not paying that high bill all year long. So that's how we're working this. It's not like we.
But you gotta
raise this
see a
rate
leak
where-
somewhere. You gotta
Yeah, I can't just say, well, I'm not using that water. We'll be able to look at the system. Our system will tell us how much you use every hour. So we can look at that and see.
But back to your opening statement, the number that I got that was $6.73 was a misprint in the calculation.
I don't want to say it was a misprint. It was a misuse of a number that wasn't the average cost of increase that everybody was going to see. That was a number that we used in the very beginning when we was trying to calculate all this and see how much revenue we was going to gain, how much we was going to lose, whatever. That was one of the numbers you used in the conversation. not a rate that was,
That's one of the options that the
Was
Board
one
of
of the
Public
options
Works
was working.
looked at initially for what the cost would be, or what should the increase be? To go ahead and get it out, get that fund out of the red and get it to operating so that it can go ahead and pay for maintenance of, so for example, your slip lining projects that you have all around, we've beefed that up quite a bit in the last couple of years. But we've seen direct benefits from that as well, too. So you've seen, I mean, the sewer line that's down Front Street, we don't get, I know it's been dry, but, I mean, we're not getting near
we're not
the
seeing
amount
as
of
much of
complaints,
a surcharge on it.
but we've focused those, we focused that in those areas where we saw the infiltration.
Yes.
And so, but that has been historically paid by your capital improvement sales tax fund. And what we've talked about before is that fund or that tax passing that should not be paying for for maintenance of that system.
I agree
Your
100%.
rates, and I think everybody understood that.
Right.
The rates should go ahead and pay for that. And it's so that when you do go to the voters at some point with the next capital improvement sales tax, this guy shouldn't be standing up in front of you, if he's still here, for a water.
When is it happening?
For a water tower and improvements to your sewer system. That's why you had the water system, or the water rates was the first ones we looked at, that was in '22, and then it was coming up on what are you gonna do for sewer?
Yes.
And like we've said before, so the general public realizes, we've got CPI escalators built into this now so that they can go ahead and keep up with it. I think everybody up here understands what we paid for labor in 2009 when you had the last rate determination and when you built a brand-new treatment plant and you had to get up to rates so that you could pay off the debt for that was for what we needed then, but it's 15 years later.
Darren,
And I know you guys know that, but I'm repeating that, Jeff,
I'm
for
not
everybody
trying to-
so that they understand.
I'm not trying to deny the fact that we need to increase sewer rates to
Right.
get our infrastructure.
You're just
paid.
trying to figure out where that number
I
was.
just, again, my question comes in the fact that when we sat here and approved this, doubling sewer rates was not on my mind.
And Jeff, I don't think that's typical at all. From the
So when-
people I've talked to
so
and
when I-
known, you got to hide. Something happened. You
So,
got a highway.
this is the article from the newspaper that says, Quatham said in August that the average household customer will see their utility bills increase $6.35, from $68.05 to $74.40 each month. Commercial customers will see an average increase of $106 monthly, from $165 to $271. Seniors, an average increase of $319. So here's where people are seeing the average house will increase $6.35, and I see a $30 increase, and you're going to tell me that my house uses that much more water, so that's the way it is.
Or he can take a look at it and see if there's something
What I'm saying
abnormal going on.
is you have what I would call an abnormal winter average, meaning it's higher than what the average winter usage is. So you had something go on over in 5 months, which was last year's 5 months, by the way. We're now rolling into the new one, so in April, by May, we'll see the new usages for the winter. So last year, through that time, you had either something going on or you just used a lot of water through those 5 months to get your average up that high.
Well, I can go back and.
Which could have been, it could have been a toilet leaking that you didn't know. We're starting to see that. We've had 3 people call Public Works. We're working with one guy right now that he called and said his bill went up $50. He said, why'd my bill go up? So Teresa said, let me look at your account. She pulled up his account and she could see that there was a leak. 10 gallons every hour is a toilet leak. She said, sir, I think you have a toilet leak. Would you mind checking? He said, hold on. He actually put the phone down. He went back and he came back and he said, you know what? My toilet was leaking. You don't know that until you're actually kind of directed in that direction. So toilets are known as water monsters. They're water monsters because they'll use a ton of water and you don't know it. And that's what happens in the winter. And then you get a high, you don't think about it, and you didn't think about it until you got the rate increase, because we didn't have a rate increase for 15 years. So for 15 years, everything was kind of sliding along, and then we raised the rates, and boom, it happened.
Well, I'm going to look at my
So
house.
I'll be more
I'm going to
than
look at my
happy for you.
previous bills and see where I stand. And I hate to even mention this, but the whole What's Up Washmo page on Facebook shows numerous people who have had that $20, $30, $40 increase in the same boat that I'm in.
I pulled all their accounts, and I could bring it up here and read off the increases on the people that were on there. And the 21 that don't even have an account in Washington that were on what's up there.
I say this when I say it loosely, that's not my favorite place for evidence or for
Just keep talking
information, you know what I'm saying? But if people are concerned, again, that's not the right place to go. Call Public Works
Call
and
Public
say,
Works and we'll
"Send my-"
evaluate their
And that's
their
where I want to
account
get
and-
to. It's
yes.
not,
Yes.
don't unanimous or anonymously put it on Facebook that your bill went up. Call Public Works, ask where your bill, what your average was, like
And
I will
we'll-
tomorrow.
We'll address it and
and
we'll
we'll address
look
it
at
from
it
there.
and we'll see what we can do. You know, we're not gonna drop everybody's bill immediately down to what it was before because it's not gonna be because we raised rates.
Right.
But we can figure out what went on through those 5 months possibly to say, you had this situation going on and we can look at now and say, we see that you've got this situation going on, so if you correct it, it may help out, but we're going through that adjustment rate right now, so.
And if you have a situation going on, it is now becoming more prevalent because we're charging.
Yes.
We doubled the rate, so therefore, it's more prevalent at the time, or
Yeah.
at the case. So, okay.
And we will work with the residents that call and have, I hate to say it, but legitimate concerns about their sewer bills, that we can see that they have a legitimate problem.
Right, okay. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Thank
Anything
you,
else?
Kevin.
Right.
Anybody else?
I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Wessel, second by Coulter to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
It's a order.